Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another show of Just My Thoughts. I'm your host, Eric Coughlin, and as presented, the last episode I had told you guys that I was going to finish up the NBA offseason, finish up all the free agency, and so that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're not finishing up all of them, but we are going to finish up another division in the NBA. So just for closure, just in case you're wondering, there's 30 teams in the NBA. It's made up of 6 divisions, 5 teams in each division, 2 conferences, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. All you loyal basketball fans, normal, regular basketball fans, all you guys understand that. For those who don't understand that, that's the only reason why I'm saying it now. There's, because there might be younger kids that are trying to understand more about basketball, trying to become basketball players. They might be 10, 11, 12, 13, getting into middle school, so this is for them, not for all you 30, 40, 50-year olds who are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're even saying that. Well, I plan on everybody watching my show. I don't plan on just old school people, old heads, or middle-aged heads. I plan on all heads, whether that be a 10-year-old, whether that be a 50-year-old. That's why I'm saying that. So that being said, so the division that I had picked today was the division that I told you guys on the last episode that I would run through, which happens to be the Pacific Division of the Western Side Conference. That's right. That's the LA Lakers. That's the Los Angeles Clippers. That is, it's really weird to say LA Clippers. That's why I just said Los Angeles Clippers. I don't even think that they should, I don't think LA should have 2 teams. That's just how I feel, but they do. It is what it is. So back to what I'm saying. The Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, um, the Phoenix Suns, and there, there's another team that I'm forgetting out there in California. California has 4 teams. Um, they have the Golden State Warriors. Oh my God, I can't believe I left the Golden State Warriors as last. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be breaking down the free agency off signings of the Western Pacific Division. And we're going to start out with the most legendary team in that division. So that being said, if you already know your history, you already know I'm talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. The reason why I decided to pick the Lakers first is because to me, they made a lot of noise. First of all, I'm just gonna full disclose that they've done a lot this offseason. But they did a lot last year. They finished the season as the 7th seed, but then they competed all the way into the Western Conference Finals. So to be the 7th seed and go all the way to Western Conference Finals was very, very, very impressive. And the fact that they pretty much did it on the backs of 2 players is even more impressive. They were pretty much a two-headed duo between Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But the most impressive part of all of that, so not only did they go from the 7th all the way to almost to the finals, a week before the playoffs, they were supposed to be a play-in team. They were actually one of the worst teams in the West, and then just had a really great week. They won all 4 of their games. They had 4 games in the schedule. They won all 4 of them, and everybody else was like, they were just relaxing. They were getting ready for the off season, and the Lakers did not. So the Lakers took advantage of players and teams and organizations of them giving up and the Lakers giving in, right? So they went from almost a play-in team to winning the last 4 games, jumping into the 7th seed, and whipping up on everybody that they seen until they got to Denver, and then they just ran out of gas. So, big question is, what all did they do? How much did they change? And will they be relevant next year? So, to answer that, this is what they've done. I've got my little cheat sheet here. Just helps me get through the show a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. So the first thing they did in the offseason, which was an eye shocker to me, like the very first player they signed Gabe Vincent to a 3-year, $33 million deal. That's a huge deal. Gabe Vincent was the point guard of the Miami Heat last year. So if you didn't know that, you know that now. He played really good all year. Last year, he played phenomenal in the playoffs, all throughout the playoffs, and even in the championship against the Denver Nuggets. Even though Denver pretty much beat the living crap out of the Heat, they didn't really beat the crap out of Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent played those guys very, very well. So they got Gabe Vincent for 3 years, $33 million. They re-signed Rui Hachimura, which I told you guys would happen, by the way. 4 years, $54 million. They re-signed D'Angelo Russell, which depressed me because I want D'Angelo Russell personally for the Bulls. So it kind of depressed me that he re-signed with Lakers, but it was all foreshadowed. You kind of knew that that was going to happen. I told you guys that in previous episodes that they consider him the prodigal son. So D'Angelo Russell re-signed 2 years, $36 million. They re-signed Austin Reeves 4 years, $54 million. They signed Jackson Hayes 2 years, $4.5 million, $4.5 million. Sorry, Cam Reddish 2 years, $4.5 million, and Taurean Prince 1 year, $4.5 million. So they completely changed what they're going to look like on the bench next year. They pretty much wiped out everybody that was a rotation player, kicked them off the team, and they got all new rotation players. So I think this is brilliant. First of all, if you don't know who Cam Reddish is, Cam Reddish was probably the third or fourth best player on the New York Knicks last year, which was a very talented team. That was a team with they have R.J. Barrett, who's supposed to be their new franchise guy. They have Julius Randle, who's a phenomenal basketball player, also a franchise guy, part of their big three. So Cam Reddish was in the mix of all those guys and was a very good, reliable player. I don't know how he didn't re-sign with the Knicks, but needless to say, it doesn't really matter how he didn't because he ended up in LA. So this is a great deal. The way it looks is I'm not a Lakers fan and I don't work for the NBA, so all this is theoretical through my mind. But the way I see this, and I've repeated this before, I've said this before, I think that Rui Hachimura actually steps up and LeBron steps down. I think LeBron's going to take a bench role in his position next year as a 39-year-old professional basketball player. He's almost 40 years old, so I don't see him running the court and being a starter next year. So that being said, who's going to start and who's not going to start, all that has to be seen. It has to be desired. But I think something like this. This is what I think. I think Austin Reeves goes in being the starting point guard, hands down. I think D'Angelo Russell, hands down, is going to be the starting shooting guard. Their small forward probably going to remain Jared Vanderbilt. I don't see him losing his job to anybody that they picked up through the offseason. And then Rui Hachimura replaces LeBron James at the power forward, and then Anthony Davis being their starting point guard. So that being said, that means Gabe Vincent is going to be the bench point guard, which is phenomenal. I see LeBron James being their sixth man, which again I see as being phenomenal. Cam Reddish being their small forward, which is going to be phenomenal. And then I'm sure that they kept somebody around to be that backup center. I don't know their entire roster. I didn't write down their entire roster. I only wrote down their free agent signings. That's what this is all about. This is all about the free agency and how teams had grew in the offseason. But needless to say, I say that the Lakers completely grew. I knew that they struggled making playoffs last year. I know that. I also know that they dominated once they made the playoffs. And I also know that they had almost no help. Austin Reeves was good. D'Angelo Russell was, disappeared. Like, he didn't even show up to play. But getting a guy like Gabe Vincent, getting a guy like Cam Reddish, getting a guy like Taurean Prince, which that could be it. I mean, LeBron could play small ball five and Taurean Prince be the power forward, and then Cam Reddish be the small forward, and then you got Gabe Vincent being the point guard. And then, you ask yourself, well, who's going to be the shooting guard? Well, first of all, between Gabe, between D'Angelo Russell, and between Austin Reeves, one of those guys is going to be on the court with the other guys. You know what I mean? Someone's going to get a lot more playing time than everybody else, and I would make the assumption that it's going to be D'Angelo Russell. I think that they're going to, make a huge contract offer to him, but not until after next season, and I think all that depends on how well does he play. I think he has to produce 30 points a game, maybe not so much rebounds, but definitely not even really. I'd say this. I'm just going to spit out 36 and 6 will get him signed to a huge contract deal that proves that he's going to guaranteed score. It proves that he's going to move the ball when he's in trouble, and it also proves that he's going to be willing to play hard and get boards. So that being said, I do think, and a long time ago they thought that he was going to be their answer, and I think that they still might think that, and I believe in my heart that it's going to primarily happen when LeBron's ready to retire. I think that D'Angelo Russell is going to be ready to step up and be like, I'm not meaning disrespect, but we don't need LeBron to to stay competitive and stay relevant. And I think that's what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, it's happened on every team that LeBron has showed up, played for, left, showed up, played for, left, showed up, played for, left. I'm talking about when he was in Cleveland, then he left for Miami, and then he went back to Cleveland, and then he went to LA. All those other teams still made playoffs without him. Maybe not championship runs, but they still made playoff runs. And I think D'Angelo knows that. I think the LA Lakers know that. So how do I grade their signings? I think it's an A plus. I told you guys already on previous episodes. I think Austin Reeves is one of the smartest point guards in the league. I see him as a Steve Nash prototype, Steve Nash 2.0, if you will. He's just a really phenomenal player. That being said, I think Rui Hachimura is also a phenomenal player, a franchise guy, another guy outside. So that's what they've kind of done. They using the offseason this year, they built a team that doesn't have to have LeBron and doesn't have to have AD. If AD leaves after this year, LeBron retires after this year, they've got a squad full of talent that can stick around, play, be competitive, make playoffs, win playoff games. Not saying that they're championship material without AD and LeBron, but I am going to say this. I'm willing to openly state that they almost were championship material on a really crappy team last year. The fact that they picked up Gabe Vincent and Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince helps them really compete for another title. Do not be surprised if this year's season, 2023-2024, Western Conference Finals, and the LA Lakers are kind of battling for it. Don't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think they did a great job. I give them an A plus, and I'm telling everybody, if you thought they sucked last year, just look what they did at the end of the year. And I'm telling you, they're not going to start this year near as bad as they did last year. These guys are going to win a shit ton of games. They're going to be scary freaking good. Not going to win their division good. I'm picking them to be probably second in their division. There's going to be another team that's a little bit better than them, but when push comes to shove and you're in the playoffs and you got AD and you got LeBron and then Gabe Vincent gets hot and D'Angelo Russell pulls his head out of his ass, sky's the limit for the LA Lakers. That's why we started with them, because everyone said that they sucked. Everyone said LeBron needs to retire. Everyone said the LA days are over with, and they freaking made a run to the Western Conference Finals. So a lot of people had to eat their words last year, and it wasn't me, because I told you it was going to happen. So that being said, I give them an A plus, and we're moving on to the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, the team that I forgot to even mention, and now I'm mentioning them second. Sorry, I'm sweating a little bit here. It's a little bit warm in here. I live in Mississippi, so we pretty much throughout the summer we average 100 degrees every damn day. I'm going to take my glasses off because of the glare. And we're just going to get down to the business. So the most, in their opinion, in my opinion, I wish it didn't happen, but in their opinion, the most important thing that they had to do this year was save Draymond Green. Why? I don't know why. I would assume it's because he's the dirtiest player in the NBA. What? I said he's the dirtiest player in the NBA. I've been watching basketball since I was 10 years old. I'm 35, 25 years. I've been watching basketball. I've never seen anybody have to kick somebody in the nuts just to be able to beat them and make a shot. I've seen it with Draymond Green. I've never seen anybody purposely stomp another player just to fight for a rebound. I've seen that in Draymond Green. I've never seen anybody have to do half the things that Draymond Green has to do just to become relevant, just for publicity, just to give people something to talk about. He's nasty. I don't like him. But that being said, he signed a 4-year, $100 million contract extension to stay in the Bay and Golden State Warriors. Outside of that, this is what they've done. Outside of the Draymond Green thing, which I fucking hate. I've already explained that to you guys. I hate that shit. But outside of that, they've had a very, very decent offseason so far. And I'm pretty sure that they're broke. They should have long been broke. They shouldn't even had $100 million to give Draymond, but somehow they did. But this is what they've done. So they worked out a trade deal to get Chris Paul, probably a 1-year deal, probably make it or break it, win a championship and retire situation for Chris Paul, which helps them. They also signed a 1-year, $3 million, a league minimum 1-year, $3 million deal to Corey Joseph, and Dario Saric got the same thing, 1 year, $3 million. So for Corey Joseph and for Dario Saric, This is good for them because this gives them an opportunity to finally compete for a title. I've been high on Saric for a long time. He's been in the league, I'd say 10 years. Well, we're going to say 8 years. He's definitely been in the league 8 years. I don't know if he was 18, 19 when he got drafted, but I do know that he's been in the league for quite some time. Actually, I was high on him being signed this offseason to a big, big, big contract, and he took a little contract just to compete for a title. So this is what that does. You already know who the Golden State Warriors are, right? Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins. Now they are put in a situation where Dario Saric could be their starting power forward, and then Draymond Green could be their center because he plays small ball five. Or, excuse me for a minute, or I apologize for that. Anyway, so you could swap them over, right? Saric could actually play the center, and Draymond could play the power forward, and that's deadly scary, right? Very deadly. And then here's been the problem for, I would say, 5 years for the Golden State Warriors. If the starters don't outscore the other team drastically, they struggle to win because they do not have a bench. Well, now they have a bench. They had possibly bring in my opinion, not the world's opinion, just in my opinion, one of the best point guards you could ask for in the NBA, Chris Paul. I'm just going to say top 10 point guards in the NBA, maybe all time. Maybe all time. Chris Paul's legitimately that freaking good. And then on top of that, Corey Joseph is no slouch. Corey Joseph has been on a lot of teams. Corey Joseph's been a Spur. He's been a Pacer. He's been a Piston. Now he's a Golden State Warrior. That is mega, mega, mega big darn difference. He's never been put in a situation to play for a title. Now he finally does. So whenever the starting five run out of gas, they can't score, they don't know what to do. Now they know what to do. Chris Paul and Corey Joseph are gonna light the fucking world on fire coming off the bench, going, you think about it like this. These guys are starting material, right, for any team in the NBA, but they're not going to be starters. They're going to be backups. So there's not going to be anybody that can compete with Chris Paul or Corey Joseph coming off the bench in that division. Well, I mean, outside of that division, because, I mean, the Lakers are really freaking good. The Lakers are going to give them all they want, plus some. Just saying, you got to keep an eye on them. I already said that. And now I'm back. I'm backtracking, so I'm going to push fast forward. I see this as a very short, see, like I said, they're broke, so they didn't spend a lot of money, but they spent smart money. They found three guys that can help win a title, hands down, and they got them all dog fucking cheap, dog cheap. Every single one of these guys are worth mega millions, and they signed, baby millions just for that NBA title. So a very good job by Golden State Warriors. I rank it A plus plus because they've got superstars for baby dollars. You got to respect that. That's amazing. Where do I see them finishing in their division? I say they're the third best team. Third best team. I said the Lakers are the second best team. So I just wonder, who do I think is actually the best team in that division? How about we talk about them right now? How about the Sacramento Kings? This is the team that I picked to win that division. They were second in the West last year. Probably, over half the season they were ranked the best team in the West, but that has to do with a lot of people getting hurt, a lot of teams, dealing with injuries. But it also has to do with this. They improved drastically last year. Well, guess what they did? They improved drastically this year. So in case you don't know, in case you don't keep up with Olympic ball or European ball, which I keep up with a little bit of both. I love basketball to the point where if I'm absolutely bored, I'm going to find a game to watch. So I do watch Olympic ball and I do watch European ball a little bit. The very first thing that they had did during this offseason, they signed a 3-year, $36 million contract to this last year's reigning European League MVP, Milicic. I don't know exactly how to say his first name, but I know his last name is Milicic. This guy's a power forward. He sits at 6'9". He sits at 232 pounds. He shoots the three ball at like 47%, which Euro ball is a lot different than American ball. They almost don't play defense at all. And almost everybody shoots the three ball. It's just like a regular shot to them. But he shot it at a very, very, very electrifyingly high clip. outside of that, because of his size, because of his mass, you can damn well guarantee he can rebound. You can damn well guarantee he can dunk. You can damn well guarantee he can play defense. You don't win an MVP title if you're not a solid, hands down best player in your division, in your freaking what would you call that organization? So that being said, just bringing in the European League MVP, I would say that even though he's never played in the NBA, this guy comes into the NBA already a top 25 player. I mean, just because he plays in EuroLeague doesn't mean he sucks. Here, newsflash, guys, a lot of people come from EuroLeague to play in, the NBA. It just happens that way. And then newsflash again, a lot of older guys, they get retired from the NBA, but they still love basketball. They still go and they play in the EuroLeague. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is this. Just because he's never played in the NBA does not mean he's never played against anyone who's been in the NBA. He's played against NBA players in the past. He's beaten the NBA players in the past. Now he's coming to the NBA to make a name for himself. This was a huge off-season signing that didn't get enough respect. A lot of people should have spent a whole month talking about what Sacramento did to open up the offseason, because that's, to me, that is going to be the breadwinner of this division. I think the Sacramento Kings is going to be the best team in the West. I think that they're going to win their division hands down, and that's just one player that they signed. What else did they do? Well, they had some contracts coming up that they didn't really want players. They didn't want to lose their players, but they didn't have a lot of money. Why did they have a lot of money? Well, let me tell you something. Sabonis had signed a 5-year, $217 million max contract. He didn't sign a 4-year deal. He signed a 5-year deal. That's the most an NBA player can sign is 5 years, and that's what they did. And they pretty much give him the entire fucking bank, $217 million plus EuroLeague's champion, 36 million. So that being said, Alex Len, 7'2", 241 pounds, could out rebound anybody in the NBA. They kept him for 1 year, $3 million. That's league minimum. But they didn't want to lose his size, so they kept him for league minimum. Keon Ellis, they kept him for league minimum. Also, Trey Lyles, they kept him for 2 years, $16 million. He's going to be he won't be a starter by no means, but he'll be like an injured reserve type, coming off the bench type. He'll get playing time. If it's a little bit lacking desired, if he doesn't do so well, he'll go to the IR list. But more than likely, he got signed because they plan on him being there. They plan on him playing. They plan on giving him minutes. Not a shit ton, but he's going to get minutes. He's going to play. That whole team's going to be solid. What do you mean the whole team's going to be solid? I'm talking about De'Aaron Fox. He's carried his own for the last 8 years in the NBA. He got drafted by the Sacramento Kings, and then he got his rookie contract extension, and then he got another contract extension. De'Aaron Fox is under contract for them for another 3 seasons and holds his own in the NBA, probably in the top 10 point guards. He's worked himself up to be in the top 10 point guards. De'Aaron Fox, how you doing? Also, Harrison Barnes, I didn't have that listed, but they re-signed Harrison Barnes, 3 years, $54 million. You don't make 3 year, $54 million contract unless you're a legitimate player. I say that he's in the top 10 best small forwards in the league. I've been high on him for a decade. What? I said I've been high on him for a decade. So when the Golden State Warriors had to rebuild and they drafted their whole entire team, let me tell you what their draft class was. They drafted Steph Curry. They drafted Klay Thompson. They drafted Draymond Green. And then they drafted Harrison Barnes. And then they brought in a league vet and kept that league vet around for a very long time. And I'm talking about Andre Iguodala. All right, so, Iguodala was the big name player. Everyone else was young. And they didn't have enough money to save the entire team. So they had to let go of one. They let go of Harrison Barnes. He went to Sacramento, and he's been in Sacramento. After he fulfills this 3 year, $54 million contract, that'd be 9 years with the Sacramento Kings. So, just saying. The Kings know what they got. They got a great player. They got a great system. Like I said, let's repeat. So they got De'Aaron Fox. They got Harrison Barnes. Now they got Milicic. Now they got Sabonis. If Alex Len decides, if they decide to list him as their starter, that would be brilliant. This is the reason why. Because Milicic could play small forward, right? Right. You could force, or not really force, but you could ask Harrison to run the two, but be a small forward, right? You could have De'Aaron Fox because he's so you could legitimately have one point guard, you could legitimately have two small forwards, then a power forward and a center. So the center Sabonis could be power forward because he's kind of a slinkier guy. He's a little center in the NBA. Mark my words, he really is. Just look up his stats. He's not a huge dude. So Alex Len being that huge guy, being that 7'1" dude, and Harrison Barnes being the attacker that he is, being the guy that can always rebound, always attack, shoot a reliable three. A Milicic guy who could do it all. All right, Sabonis who could do it all. Do you see what I'm saying? Hands down, this is going to be the best team in that division. They're going to be better than the Golden State Warriors. They're going to have their hands full with the LA Lakers, but they are going to battle and scrap and fight, and that's going to be the most interesting matchup, in my opinion, in this division is the Lakers versus the Kings. And I think it's going to be an interesting throughout the NBA. The Kings and the Lakers versus anybody will will primarily be a very good game. That being said, who is the team that we haven't talked about yet? Well, we haven't talked about two. There's 5 teams in the division. We've talked about 3. I've already picked a division winner. I've already picked a second place winner. I've already picked a third place winner. Now, we're going to pick the 4th place winner who everyone thinks is primed to win a championship. Everyone's going to put all, like in Las Vegas and all these professionals, they're going to put all their money on the line on one team to shock the world, and that's the Phoenix Suns, who I think are highly overrated, who I think they have a player killer, and this is what they've done. The Phoenix Suns signed Erick Gordon, 2 years, $6.5 million. They signed Josh Okogie, 2 years, $6 million. Damian Lee, 2 years, $5 million. Yoda Watanabe, 2 years, $5 million. Bates Diop, 2 years, $5 million. Drew Eubanks, 2 years, $5 million. Bol, big old dude, played for the Magic for the last couple of years, or was drafted by the Magic, fulfilled his contract duties as a rookie, and then became a free agent thinking he was going to make big money, but he didn't make big money. What did he make? 1 year, $2 million, league minimum. And then they got Chamsi Muda, 1 year, $2.5 million, and then Saban Lee, 1 year, $2 million. So what they have done is they pretty much offloaded everybody. And I told you guys that was going to happen. I told you when you bring a guy like Kevin Durant into your... Sorry for the difficulties. I'm not exactly sure what had happened, but I got cut off from you guys, and I'll have to fix all that a little bit later. Needless to say, so when you bring in a guy like Kevin Durant to your organization, this is what he's going to do. He's going to bitch. He's going to complain. He's going to find everything that he doesn't like. And he's going to demand you to fix it, make it his way. It's his way or the highway. That's what I hate about Kevin Durant. I think he's the most overrated player in the NBA. And then I think he's a teammate killer. You just think about it like this. So back in the day, OKC, young, fresh, hot, right? Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, and they didn't win a title, and they stayed on the same team for like 4 years to the point where that team had to break up. Why do you think that team had to break up to begin with? Because of Kevin Durant. So, that being said, this is what I think is going to happen with the Phoenix Suns. I think that they're going to probably win some games. Obviously, they're not, but I don't think they're going to win their division. Obviously, I've already said that. And I don't even know where they're going to fall into the playoff race. I'd say it's probably 7th seed. They are, first of all, they completely rebuilt. So I'll give them kudos to that. They completely rebuilt their team. But the team that they rebuilt, I don't see has more talent than the team that they had before they tore the walls down. So you lose a guy like Chris Paul, you lose a guy like Erick Gordon, you lose guys that can score, that can pass, that can play, that know how to be a team, and then you bring in a bunch of guys that Kevin Durant asks for. He did this in Brooklyn, right? Did Brooklyn ever win a title? No. Did Brooklyn even make the playoffs? No. So why would you give a player everything he asked for if he hasn't even proven that he deserves anything? I don't know. But it's not my problem because I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I'm not a Phoenix Suns fan. All you Phoenix Suns fans out there who think you got a brand new team and are ready to kill everybody in the league, the joke is on you. You will be successful when you lose Kevin Durant. How you doing? Now, finally, the last team on the list, the LA Clippers. What? The LA Clippers, the Los Angeles Clippers, what have they done? Let's take a look at what the Clippers have done. Well, they kept Russell Westbrook 2 years. What did they give Russell? 2 years, $8 million. That's kind of embarrassing for a guy like Russell Westbrook, who's arguably, it could be said, the best point guard in the NBA. What? What are you talking about? I'm talking about he does everything. He he scores a lot of points. He gets a lot of assists. He gets a shit ton of rebounds. He gets a shit ton of steals. He gets blocks. I mean, he's like prime D Rose who never fell out of his prime. And that's the truth. Russell Westbrook should be like a multi-million-dollar contract point guard who signed a 2-year deal for $8 million. That's depressing. Very, very depressing. But only for one guy, himself. How you doing? Also, they kept Mason Plumlee. I think that's good for them. I don't think it's good for Mason Plumlee. And the reason why I say that is because in the playoffs, so full disclosure, for everyone who's not a Clippers fan and doesn't keep up with the Clippers organization, and you kind of watch the basketball a little bit, especially during the playoffs, and then you see these playoff games just because it's playoff mode, blah, blah, blah. This is what happened. So, Kawhi Leonard, who's supposed to be, and I have to quotation this, he's supposed to be the top 5 best NBA players in the league right now, and maybe top 10 best of all time. That's what people say about Kawhi Leonard. But you know what people don't talk about Kawhi Leonard about? About what he did this year in the playoffs. How many people out there know that he was completely 100% healthy? I know that. And also 100% refused to play. I also know that. So, that is completely truth. I am not lying to you at all. I would never make up a story to get you guys to watch my show. He was completely, positively A-OK and sat out of the playoffs for personal reasons. Do you guys want to know what those personal reasons are? It's because that Paul George, his contract was coming up, and they were talking about how they had to keep Paul George and make him the franchise guy, and everyone, the whole media, social media was Paul George, Paul George, Paul George, Paul George. Well, that hurt, Leonard's feelings to the point where he's like, if Paul George is so fucking good, let's let him watch him win without me. That is what happened to the Clippers this year in the playoffs. If you want to know why the Clippers got their ass kicked, it's because one of the best fucking players in the league refused to play. Refused to play. Like, this is what I would do if I were Roger Goodell, if I had anything to do with the NBA, or Adam Silver. I'm sorry, Roger Goodell's NFL, Adam Silver is the NBA. I cleared that up for you. Sorry that I had it wrong. I fixed it. How you doing? Needless to say, if I was Adam Silver, I would fucking strip that dude a year's worth of pay. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. Yeah, actually it does. Do you understand that he signed a $240 million contract just a year ago? I mean, you divide that. Divide 260 million by 4. So 26 divided by 4 is pretty much 60 million a year. Take 60 million a year from him because he refused to play. If you're not going to stand up and play for my organization, and my organization is making you filthy rich money that no one else in the world will ever fucking see, and you're not going to fucking play for me, you ass wouldn't be playing at all. I'd ban his ass from the NBA if I were Adam Silver. And that's why I say this is the worst team in this division. They will be dead last in the Western Pacific Division. They won't make the playoffs. Even if Kawhi Leonard gets out of his feelings, it's already ruined, right? Because Paul George has openly said he will not re-sign with the Clippers. He doesn't want to be on the Clippers. If he goes this whole entire offseason and does not get signed, odds are, if him being a man of his word, odds are this man will retire and walk away from the NBA, all because of Kawhi Leonard. And this is huge because PG-13 is a legitimate basketball player. I, as a Bulls fan, would love to see Paul George come to the Bulls. I would love to see Paul George play for anybody but the fucking Clippers, and all because of Kawhi Leonard. And like I said this again, I will say this, and I will say this, and I will say this. If I were Adam Silver, fucking Kawhi Leonard would be out of my organization period. And he'd have to be paying me for whatever years that I've already signed him a contract for. I would kick him out, and the years that he didn't play, he'd be giving fucking back to my organization, and that is the truth. That's the reason why the Clippers sucked last year. That's the reason why the Clippers are going to suck forever. Newsflash, anybody out there needs to stay the hell away from Kawhi Leonard. Worst attitude in the NBA is Kawhi Leonard. How do you stand up and say, I'm not going to play for my team because everyone likes him more than me? Like, how do you do that? I don't know. Somehow, he got to do it. NBA let it happen. They got their asses kicked in the very first round. Against a team that they were already better than, they could have, they were better than their opponents, hands down, but they still lost, all because of Kawhi Leonard's ridiculous fucking attitude. So they didn't change much at all. Paul George refuses to sign for him. They kept who they could keep, and they're in a lot of trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not a playoff team at all next year. Somebody like OKC might step up and take their freaking spot, which is crazy because we're talking about a team full of youth, which is actually, that's going to be not the next. So this is what I plan to do with you guys. I started with the East. I went to the West. We're going to continue to do that. East, West, East, West, East, West. But the next time we're in the Western Conference, we will be talking about OKC. We'll be talking about the Utah Jazz. We'll be talking about the defending champs, Denver Nuggets. I almost said Denver Broncos, guys. I'm so sorry. I miss football. But that will be the division I go with next in the West. And the division that I'm going with next in the East, I want to say is going to be, with the Miami Heat's division. But here's the thing. I don't really think, I think I'm going to save them for last because they're sitting on money and they're working out deals. I've already fully exposed this to you guys already. I expect Damian Lillard to be in the Miami Heat before preseason. Preseason starts in October. So before the season ever starts, I expect to see a deal saying that the Miami Heat and combine contracts with Damian Lillard. So until that happens, I'm not going to cover that. I mean, I might cover it before it happens, but it won't be the next time we're on Just My Thoughts. The next time we're on Just My Thoughts, we're going to be talking about we talked about the Central, and we will be talking about, where do I have that listed at? I don't know where I have that listed. But either which way, I guess we will take it. We'll take it to Miami. We'll talk about those guys with the idea of them still getting Damian Lillard, because actually until that happens, they've taken a big loss. Losing Gabe Vincent hurt them. Losing Max Strus hurt them. So actually, thinking about it now, I kind of want to talk about the Miami Heat. So the next time we have Just My Thoughts, we will be breaking down Miami Heat's division, how everyone improved, how they didn't improve, and are they going to get Damian Lillard? Those are the biggest questions in the NBA offseason right now. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the show, I appreciate you giving me your time. Always like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling generous, always feel free to cash at me, Erick Daniel Coughlin, #Coughlin Pride. Have a nice day.